She stumbled into the garage barefoot, her tiny legs trembling, her breath sharp and ragged like she'd been running for miles. Oil fumes hung thick in the air, the sound of rock music echoing from a radio somewhere in the corner. The men inside, big, tattooed, leather-jacketed bikers, froze mid-conversation. "Please," she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "Please don't let him find me." The garage fell silent. One of the bikers, Tank, a burly man with a thick beard, black bandana, and arms covered in skull tattoos, turned down the radio. He crouched, his gravelly voice low. "Whoa, slow down, sweetheart. Who's after you?" The little girl, maybe 9 years old, clutched a torn pink backpack to her chest. Her dark brown skin was streaked with dirt, her braids messy, and one of her sneakers hung by a thread. Her wide eyes, terrified but fierce, darted to the door every few seconds. "My dad, he's coming." "Please don't let him take me." Tank exchanged glances with his crew. Razor, a tall, bald man with a scar over his eyebrow, and Lena, the only woman in the group, with blonde hair tucked under a leather cap. Razor muttered, "You sure you want to get mixed up in this, Tank? Could be trouble." Tank ignored him. "You hurt?" The girl shook her head quickly, but her lip trembled. "No, sir. But if he finds me, he'll hurt me." "I swear he will," a sound outside, screeching tires. The men turned toward the noise. Tank's instincts kicked in. "Razor, kill the lights. Lena, get her to the back." Lena immediately took the girl's hand, leading her behind a stack of old tires and toolboxes. The garage fell into near darkness, the rumble of an approaching truck echoing off the metal walls. Moments later, the door burst open. A man stormed in, heavy boots, denim jacket, and a face twisted with rage. He reeked of alcohol and sweat. His eyes darted around the room. "You seen a little girl come through here?" he barked. Tank wiped his hands on a rag, standing tall. "Depends. What's it to you?" The man's jaw tightened. "She's my daughter. Ran off again. I just need to teach her a lesson." His voice cracked with venom on the last word. Razor stepped forward slightly, towering over him. "A lesson? Or a beating?" The man glared, puffing his chest. "You don't know what kind of kid she is. Lying, sneaky little brat. She belongs with me." Tank took a slow step forward. "If she's scared enough to run barefoot down the street, maybe you should think about why." The man sneered. "What are you, her hero now? You think some gang trash is going to tell me how to raise my kid?" Lena, hidden in the back, gently placed her hands on the girl's shoulders to keep her still. The child's breath hitched, tears silently streaking down her cheeks. Tank's voice dropped low, steady, dangerous. "You need to leave. Right now. I ain't going nowhere without her." Tank's crew subtly shifted, forming a loose semicircle around the man. Razor crossed his arms, his scar catching the light. "You got two choices, buddy. You walk out now or we escort you out. Through the wall." The man's eyes darted between them, the tattoos, the muscle, the quiet fury in their faces. He spat on the floor, backing toward the door. "You'll regret this. All of you." Then he turned and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the tools rattled on the walls. For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the sound of the girl's shaky breathing filled the air. Then Lena led her out from behind the tires. The girl's eyes were still wet, but her shoulders began to loosen as Tank crouched again. "He gone," he said softly. "You're safe now." She looked up at him, trembling. "He'll come back." "He always does." Tank's jaw tightened. "Not tonight, he won't." He took off his leather jacket and draped it around her small shoulders. "You hungry?" Her nod was barely visible, but enough. They gathered around a small table in the corner, the crew warming up leftover burgers on a portable grill. The girl sat quietly, still clutching her backpack, her eyes darting from one biker to another. Lena poured her a soda and smiled softly. "You got a name, sweetheart?" The girl hesitated. "Imani. That's a pretty name," Lena said. "Means faith, right?" Imani looked surprised. "My mama said that before she—" Her voice trailed off, her eyes lowering. "Before she left." Tank leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You got somewhere safe to go, Imani? Anyone besides him?" She shook her head. "It's just me." The crew exchanged glances. Razor muttered, "Man, we're bikers, not babysitters," but Tank didn't answer. He just looked at the small girl, scared, dirty, alone, and something in his chest ached. Once long ago, he'd had a daughter, too. He hadn't seen her since the divorce, and every night he wondered if she hated him. Maybe this was his chance to make something right. Hours passed. Imani dozed off on an old couch in the corner, wrapped in Tank's jacket. The garage was quiet except for the faint hum of a fan. Then, a sound outside. Tires crunching gravel, headlights sweeping through the cracks of the door. Tank's eyes narrowed. He motioned for the crew to be silent. The door rattled, then banged open. The father again. And this time, he wasn't alone. Two men stepped in with him, both drunk, both holding baseball bats. "You really thought you could hide her from me?" the father snarled. "She's mine." Before he could take another step, Razor grabbed the bat from his hand and flung it across the room. "Wrong move!" The other men lunged forward, but Tank was already moving, years of brawls behind him. He slammed one man against the wall while Lena swung a wrench at the other's arm, sending the bat clattering to the ground. The father stumbled backward, falling into a pile of chains. "Listen to me," Tank growled, his fist gripping the man's jacket. "If you ever come near her again, I swear you won't walk away next time," the man spat, coughing. "She's my blood." Tank's eyes burned. "Then start acting like it." He shoved him toward the door, and Razor kicked it open. "Get lost," Razor barked. "Before we change our minds." The three men scrambled into the night, their truck roaring away into darkness. Imani stood near the couch, tears running down her cheeks, trembling but safe. Tank crouched beside her again. "You okay, kiddo?" She nodded slowly, her small voice barely a whisper. "You didn't have to do that for me." Tank smiled faintly, the scars on his knuckles catching the light. "Yeah, I did." The next morning, Tank drove her to the sheriff's office in town. He stood beside her as she told her story to the officers, the bruises, the nights she'd slept in closets, the fear. They listened. For once, someone listened. Before she went inside, Imani turned to him. "You think I'll ever see my mama again?" Tank hesitated, then rested a big, rough hand on her shoulder. "I think she's watching over you right now," he said softly. "And she's proud." Imani smiled for the first time, small but real. She hugged him tightly before following the officer inside. Tank watched her go, the morning light spilling across the street, and for the first time in years, he felt something stir in his chest. Peace. When he returned to the garage, Razor smirked. "So we're running a daycare now?" Tank grinned. "Nah, just doing the right thing for once." Lena nudged him. "You think she'll be okay?" Tank looked out the open garage door, sunlight flooding in. "She already is," he said quietly. "She's got faith." The sound of a rumbling engine filled the air as the crew got back to work. But the image of a brave little girl named Imani, the one who had run barefoot into their world, stayed with them forever.